Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg, back to the doldrums in the office.
Well, I don't mind being in the office. It sucks that winter's coming now, but
Yeah,
now
I
we have
believe
to golf on our own.
I know I have to golf on our own. The weatherman in our town said that the cold front's going to hit Austin tomorrow or today, as we're watching this, like the Kool-Aid man jumping through a brick wall. So I have a feeling the rest of the country is in it for whatever crazy polar thing we've got coming in the next couple of weeks. But we do have maybe some bright news coming out of the desert as far as lettuce goes.
Right. I worked with Mark on this week on an update on the lettuce market, and Salinas is still not in great shape. And so prices are still, I mean, real close to, if not record highs. But the desert deal is starting up now and should be better. And they are predicting as early as next week, prices could start coming down, which not, I mean, maybe in time for Thanksgiving, close, probably not. Not that
You know
that's
what
not
though?
it's not a big salad holiday, really.
Nah, I'm not in Thanksgiving for the salad. I'm sorry. Maybe the day before when I'm pre-gaming trying to make room, and maybe like 2 or 3 days afterward, after I, eat until I hate myself on canned goods and deliciousness and gravy. That's when you want the salad, but it's not necessarily a huge green bean casserole type situation. Oh wait, let me bring the iceberg and romaine salad to Thanksgiving. Nah, no disrespect to iceberg and romaine, but it doesn't feature prominently in, and especially, did you see Dole's recipes? They're for vegan sides for Thanksgiving.
They do.
Exciting.
If they're implying that too many sides are filled with meat, I need to start checking some new recipes because I'm interested in some of those meat sides.
I think they're trying to avoid dairy, but this is one day where I'm taking a pass. The only thing, and I think produce can agree with me, is we do not do canned sweet potatoes and we do not do potato flakes for Thanksgiving. This now, fresh potatoes, fresh sweet potatoes, there will be plenty for everyone. You may have to pay a little bit more for potatoes, but we continue to say potatoes are cheap.
Potatoes are still extremely affordable, and they are an absolute staple of both upcoming big holidays. So the market is a little tighter than it usually is, but there's still plenty out there.
Yeah, and if you're gonna spend more than, we've got all of these retailers promoting their $30 Thanksgiving or their Thanksgiving rewind or something like that. If there's a holiday where we have permission to spend some money on food, it's Thanksgiving. And do not disappoint me with potato flakes. I will call you out on that. But
Well, I mean, it's not like messing with the green bean casserole or something.
yeah, I mean, no, some people make that with fresh ones. It might not be me. But we did have, I think it's an interesting segue to talk about all the issues that we're having with lettuce right now. We've got the virus issues, and I even heard at IFPA's that the INSV virus, I think that's the correct acronym. I'm having a hard time with acronyms, okay? It could be found in other leafy greens and even in celery. And so I'm sure that everyone down in Yuma and down in the desert is really hoping that we don't start to see it sprout up there. It's spread by thrips. And that's just a pest that we have to deal with. So I think everyone's holding their breath, hoping that we don't see it there. But it's also kind of pushing us going, what else are we going to do? And this week we got
Yeah.
a news release from UNFI about a deal with Square Roots, the indoor farm. They're putting Square Roots facilities at their distribution centers, starting in the Midwest, serving Wisconsin and Minnesota. I think that's a huge deal with a lot of huge potential.
I think I think the healthy way to look at it is supplemental and almost maybe some insurance against some of these the cyclical market of fresh outdoor produce items. And if this can allow buyers to hedge their bets, this is a really good thing, especially as you're trying to grow consumption and have consistent supplies for consumers. And we've been saying this for years. We will start paying more attention when they start getting deals with big retailers and the places that normal people buy produce, and that is at grocery stores and the Walmarts and Costco's of the world. You need to be where people buy food, normal people, not the extreme edges. And they're starting to do this more. And every week or two, we're starting to see more of these deals, and this is a really good thing. Now we can start to compare how they can compete in the real world.
And it is worth noting that when we're talking about desert lettuce, we're primarily talking about big crunchy heads of romaine and big crunchy heads of iceberg, neither of which we see from indoor farms at the moment, just because the economy of scale and the sizing is just not there from an indoor farm. So we're seeing more competition in the bagged fancy greens, but still, this is the market trying to find ways to eliminate this uncertainty, eliminate the issues that we're having with weather. We had a video from Marcon this week that we saw that was some ice in Salinas. So you're not going to have that issue when you're growing indoors. So it's really interesting to see the development, and we've had quite a few news releases, even just this week, about expansions in App Harvest. Even is opening the Queen of Greens facility in Appalachia. I believe that was in Kentucky, and Edible Greens has just had its most recent quarterly report talking about a lot of growth. Local Bounty had a lot of growth going on. Huge booth at PMA. Huge booth at the Global Produce and Floral Show. Excuse me. I heard that there is a swear jar in the office that if you accidentally call it the wrong thing or use the wrong merch, then you have to put a quarter in the swear jar. But if there was one consistent thing that you saw on the trade show floor, it was a lot of these Bright Farms, Local Bounty, Edible Farms, 80 Acres Farms, all of these big companies or niche companies, what they were a couple of years ago, had really big presences on that show floor.
Well, they're high investment companies, so in that way they're big. But yeah, they have to start showing growth, and they're showing growth.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that I mentioned at the Fresh Produce Association of the Americas show last week, is that we're going to see more container farm growing, but now we need to see more container farm selling, and selling into retailers and selling into food service channels. So that's the key point of it that we haven't quite seen as much yet.
Well, the other topic we wanted to talk about was some of the changes in grocery delivery. We've had some big news as far as Uber has gotten on with 2 retailers just this week, signed fairly good sized regional deals. Is this something that you expected, or is this perhaps a different direction than you were expecting?
Well, it makes sense when you kind of step back and look at the solution that many retailers used as a crutch to get into the online grocery fulfillment deal in the past was Instacart. And Instacart's kind of been sliding a little bit in popularity as the company there's been rumblings and rumors that they're going to go into self-fulfillment. So they would be seen less as a solution and more as a competitor to a grocery company. And a lot of that is the big data play, because Instacart owns a lot of data. Instacart knows a lot about the shoppers that it is working with. And so we saw Spartan Nash go in with Uber Eats, and Grocery Outlet expand its Uber Eats. And I believe Albertsons, doesn't Albertsons work with Uber Eats? I can't remember. I mean, don't quote me on that. I hate hearing that, but
that's a little touchy right now with the merger and all that.
Yeah, a little touchy. I believe Kroger does a lot of its own. But we're seeing these retailers, and I believe the way that it works with Uber Eats is that the retailer owns the fulfillment. They own the picking and the packing, and then Uber Eats is just doing the delivery on that. And that makes a lot of sense. Rather than having third-party shoppers, a retailer wants to own the shopping part of it so that they can guarantee. And this is the issue that a lot of people have with online grocery, is trust. And so if a retailer is saying, hey, we're the ones picking this, then I feel like consumers are going to trust them more. And then it's just a gig driver or somebody just picking up the driving part of it, I think is a lot more understandable for a lot of consumers.
Yeah, but then the retailers have to get involved in labor.
They do. But you know what? Most of the retailers that I visit are investing in that right now, and they've got picking staffs, and they're working on making sure that their fulfillment is up to par. It doesn't seem like it's that much of a problem to have onboarding with someone who's already familiar with the store format, the layout, the footprint, all of that stuff, to just be implemented in the picking or stocking processes. That way, I mean, I think it's a pretty easy step for a lot of retailers. I've got some friends who work for HEB doing picking, and some of them have transitioned into store operations, and some of them have transitioned out of store operations into picking. It's a pretty seamless transition.
It always helps when you stock those, because then you know where they are.
And you know where everything is, especially when they start moving stuff around. And this is the time of year that I feel like everyone's resetting their produce departments and moving things around, like the citrus moves up front because it's citrus season. And, you know, a lot of changes happen, and it's easier to do when it's not a part-timer who maybe doesn't have a lot of investment in the company or in the brand. So I can see a win there for retailers, not relying on a third-party person to come in and pick in their stores.
Well, before we wrap up, we have to mention probably the biggest story in the produce industry this week, and that's the passing of Jim Priebor, who has been a competitor of ours, both at Blue Book and our previous employment. But as I mentioned in our coverage of it, I always got along great with him. He was not secretive or competitive in person. You know, I think I went to the first New York produce show, and I mean, it was incredibly impressive. He was the first to expand out of just digital and print publishing into events from that kind of business model, and others have followed him. And he partnered with an association, and he proved that you can do it. And I don't think it would have worked had he not had the personality and knowledge that he had, and expertise and credibility. Really, you know, the first few certainly were very much the Jim Prevor show, and I don't think it hurt it one bit.
No, I don't think it hurt it at all. And this was really shocking news for a lot of us in the produce industry. Of course, it was sudden. I think everyone who's been in produce for any amount of time knows Jim Prevor, and he was always so supportive and just such a larger than life advocate for the industry. And the tributes that we're seeing roll in on social media have been just amazing. And I hope that his family sees some of them, because he will definitely be missed. I will be at the New York Produce Show in a couple of weeks. It's going to be at the end of November this year. And I think it will be a mixture of kind of a somber event without him there. That's a huge hole left in the industry. He was such a passionate advocate, and, you know, just a spokesperson for the industry. And without him there, it's going to be tough, but I think people will be there, and they will be enthusiastic to be there in support of that organization. But it was definitely unexpected and tragic for those of us who have worked with him, and really, he will be missed. And people always say that, but we're definitely going to miss him in a couple of weeks and a couple of years from now. I think a lot of people will remember him for a long time.
Yeah, he leaves a great professional legacy, and you know, while we will miss him, it's not anything compared to the way his family will miss him. So definitely hearts go out to them.